So, namaste and welcome to this special interaction. It's a very, very special show, and every time we get to meet people coming from different walks of life in this interaction on Organizer YouTube channel. Today we have a special guest. These days, Nalanda University is in discussion, and just a few days back. Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicated the Nalanda campus, the new renovated Nalanda campus. Uh, he dedicated to the nation. And the person who actually seen through the coming of this campus from ground zero, where there was nothing absolutely. I personally remember visiting that campus when ma'am was really toiling hard to putting the things in place. Uh, so we have with us a special guest, so Dr. Sunaina Singh, basically coming from a literary background and comparative literature has been her forte. She was with Usmania University and she, at the peak of her career, she took up this challenge of rebuilding Nalanda, the indomitable spirit of idea of Bharat. Nalanda stood for the Indian knowledge system. And she's the one who's seen through the creation and redevelopment of renovation of that campus. So a warm welcome, ma'am, and thanks a lot for sparing your time for speaking to Organizer. First of all, what is your reaction of this historic moment? Finally, Nalanda's new campus is ready, and now all the facilities that you looked for, you planned for, are somewhere in place. So, what is your feeling right now?
Well, namaskar, and thank you for having me. It was a huge honor to rebuild Nalanda. The opportunity itself was a privilege because I thought personally it gave me an opportunity to look at Bharat from a different lens because we were known as Vishwaguru, and to yet again to embark on that educational pathway, I thought that was an exemplary opportunity to showcase. Having said that, Honorable Prime Minister inaugurating Nalanda University, I think that was the moment. It was a momentous occasion and it heralded a new education system for the world, promising universalization of education. That's how I look at it. Because India is known for its knowledge systems. India was known earlier as a solution center, and even today, I keep saying this, and I believe in it firmly because if you look at the trajectory of our nation, we have gone through ups and downs. But past 10 years, we've been able to establish our nation as a country to be emulated, particularly where peace and development is concerned. So it's like balancing peace with progress, which is such a difficult thing. In today's world, either you see the Western countries as extremely progressive and embarking on technological pathways, whereas India has both. We are, we have been a knowledge center, and now we create knowledge. We send our experts abroad. So proud moment. Modi Saab coming to Nalanda was a dream come true for me personally, because after my stint at one of the central universities as vice chancellor for a full term of 5 years, that was again a very challenging institution that I was handling, and it was a successful tenure there.
When Nalanda, it was in IFLU,
yeah, because that was known as a beef institution. There was a beef festival, so I had to deal with a different kind of a trajectory there, and to bring it back on the international academic platform was a challenge, but we succeeded there. So coming to Nalanda in 2017, when I came, I may perhaps tell you about the challenges because the
I'll come to those challenges, ma'am. But I just want to capture your emotions when Nalanda was rededicated. I
uh,
want to understand your emotions. How was it? How did you feel? And what was that? If you can somehow put it in words.
well, very difficult for me to put it in words because when you create a university, rebuild an institution, it was like a mother, giving birth to an institution. So it was an extremely emotional moment for me personally, but a glorious moment. I felt that this is what we are gifting to the world. It was a proud moment. It was a moment of huge honor for the nation, huge honor for the entire world. The Buddhist nations, I'm sure, were very proud of Nalanda because that's what Nalanda was offering to the world. So it was a glorious and personally extremely satisfying moment for me because I've been trying to get it inaugurated because the campus was ready by 22 itself. 20 I entered the campus in 2019. I started building it in 2018. So uh, the inauguration per se, the external affairs minister was also there, but looking at it from a national perspective, from a Bharatiyata perspective, I thought it reinforced our knowledge systems. The inauguration reinforced our cultural moorings, how India is a bridge and can be bridged to the entire world, not just on the knowledge platform, but the knowledge platform that can create multiple opportunities of peace building in a multipolar and tumultuous world order today. Nalanda is unique. It cannot be like any other university offering the same courses, pure sciences, social sciences, because personally, social sciences is the creation of a colonial world order. The
Right.
European
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we did not have social sciences. Nalanda was known for his interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary ethos. We had sciences, astronomy, astrology, physics merging into in different ways, religion, spirituality. It was a peace building endeavor then and today too. So that inauguration was, for me, emblematic of what Bharat stands for. So very proud.
Ma'am, sometimes I personally feel that this interdisciplinarity is also a misnomer because essentially you believe that there are separate disciplines and then somehow bring them together. It was more an integral approach. We didn't see spirituality versus material sciences. We didn't see social sciences and humanities and spirituality as independent of each other. So it was basically in search of self and still understanding the laws of nature and then tuning yourself with the laws of nature. That was the approach we had in our knowledge system. But ma'am, when you went there, and I remember 2018-19, you went, it was a very, very difficult, challenging situation. Though the idea was germinated in 2010 itself, many Southeast Asian countries, pitched in to, rebuild this university. But unfortunately, till almost 2017-18, there was nothing, absolutely nothing that was going ahead when it comes to the rebuilding of Nalanda. So, how did you see it? What were the real challenges? And more importantly, in extreme eastern corner of Bharat, how did you overcome them?
But first, to answer, I agree with you. What we had in India, and we believe even today, it's integral humanism. Everything comes together to rebuild an individual, rebuild an ethos, rebuild a state or a nation. Having said that, um, uh, entering Nalanda University was a very, a difficult time for me, because for the first time I thought that I'm moving out of a comfortable zone of a metropolitan city into Bihar, and to go there alone. I was a little in shock, and I was baffled when I went there, because we were in a small interim government building with three porta cabins as classrooms or lab, whatever, everything. And there was hardly any infrastructure. There were no policies, there was no academic or framework or ordinances, there were no rules and regulations. It was free for all. And one of the other shocking thing that I noticed was, in the name of foreign faculty, 80% of them, there were five or six, so 80 to 9, out of five or six, five of them were PhD scholars, called in as international faculty. The other thing I found was small group of faculty. Most of them were freshers, barring two or three who were senior faculty, who were brought in with 11 increments, 12 increments. And some of the favorites, I don't know what was the criteria. There was no approval of the governing board from what I've seen. It was a huge challenge, because we are talking about universities are knowledge creation centers, and not just knowledge transferring agencies. I believe that. And when I went there, I found there were fresh scholars out of university with 50%, which is 17 increments. Government of India rules, or anywhere across the world I've seen, Government of India, we say maximum 5 increments for exceptionally talented. Perhaps a person who's a big scientist or astronomer or mathematician, we may give 5. Here, freshers were given 17, 18 increments. So that was one challenge. I found faculty was not suitable for the image of an international institution. 2, absence of academic framework. There were no examination methods. The first batch degrees were given without proper evaluation. So 12 or 10 out of 12 admitted, I think 9 or 10 took their degrees, and there was no evaluation mechanism. There were no exams held. So academic challenges, because it's an institution. Third, I found that skeletal staff were there, and mostly untrained people. So mostly people didn't know how to run an institution, how to develop the knowledge systems ethos in the back of Bihar. One of the good thing was that I had full support of our government. Honorable Prime Minister was already in chair coming in 14. So they ensured that Nalanda would develop. So they had the systems. They were trying to build the ethos per se. So I had the support of External Affairs Minister, and when I completed my term, I dedicated my work to Madam Sushma Swaraj, because I hold her in very high esteem, given the passion with which she would talk about Nalanda and tell me how I should take it forward. I'm sure this is the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. So it was a difficult moment for me to go and see nothing in the name of international university. Mostly because the university started by an act of parliament in 2010. The classes commenced in 14 with 2 masters of 10 or 12 students were admitted, out of which only 9 or 10 took their degrees. And it was being run initially thanks to Nitish Kumarji. He did give the facilities and all that. But eventually in 14, when Madam Sushma Swaraj said, no, you have to start the classes. Started in porta cabins were created, 2 porta cabins. And then it graduated to 3. So for an international university, I was in a state of shock. I thought central universities were doing far, far better. So that was one. 2, I thought that I had to build the policies. And one of the first letter that I received from Ministry of External Affairs, because it comes from, it's managed by External Affairs Ministry, was to develop the statutes as per the Act, because most statutes were missing, ordinances were missing. So I got a committee to be chaired by one Central University Vice Chancellor who knew the rules, a person from HRD, Ministry of Education, who was part of the 7 to 10 Central University who had come up then, UGC member. So I got some experts who knew how to build policies, and we did that. But I'll come to this a little later. I want to talk about the objectives of the university, because very often I see on television shows people saying that so much money is spent, there are no sciences, there are no, you know. So one of the objective of the university, I would like to tell those who criticize how the university has not been. One of the thing is universities are expansive. They build over years. They can't be built in say 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Takes a long time. Point number 2, the objective was it needs to emulate, be on the model of ancient Nalanda, and particularly in the objectives of Nalanda University, the word used is ancient sciences, which is astronomy, the ancient sciences, humanities, and logic, ethics, spirituality. These were the objectives. The other objective was through capacity building for East Asian countries, or Asian belt, because it was known for its value system and spirituality. Now it should get into knowledge pathways and create future knowledge leaders. The third objective was to create, and perhaps this is the only university in India or in Asia which says to build regional peace, quote unquote. I'm talking as per Act and objective of to build regional peace, which is, we are talking about global south today. The language that we use is of global south. So to build peace, regional peace and harmony, which is such a laudable objective. No other university has an objective to build peace and harmony through science, ancient sciences, to rediscover ancient sciences and to see how that can be useful for the multipolar new world order that's emerging. So how can we connect it with the emerging knowledge from the world order? So that I thought was a very unique way. So that gave me a lot of hope and enthusiasm. I was inspired by these objectives. So I embarked on this journey of creating statutes with a small team, 2 or 3 people whom I could inspire, because the rest of them thought that I would resign and leave because there were no facilities. I lived in a small hotel room for 5 months. But I did not give up, because in my dictionary, there's no word such as giving up on anything. So I had already given my word to the then EM. Jaishankar ji was the foreign secretary then, that I will rebuild it and connect, be a bridge to the East Asian countries who had committed themselves to Nalanda. 17, then the 18th one also came along. So that was the beginning. And what a beginning, I would say, from 0 to, because Nagarjuna spoke about the philosophy of Shunya. So I said, how can we build? There's so much hope there. It gives you so much. And Bihar, I must tell you, the people there are grateful for the work I have done. I receive calls and messages right from the local people there, who are so grateful for the kind of work that I have done. And they all knew that I had worked with 0 facilities. So it was a unique opportunity for me to rebuild Nalanda. And it was, I was privileged, I thought. It was an honor to rebuild. And I did not lose any time, particularly because I'll tell you why I did not lose time. Because I thought the mentor group was appointed in 2007. 2010, now I'm giving you the timeline. 2010, by an act of parliament, Nalanda was instituted. So our dear noble people were there on the board of Nalanda from 2007. The then Vice Chancellor was brought into the system in 2009 itself. And then it was regularized by the Honorable President then in 2010 after the act. Now they all ran the institution from Delhi or New York. Let me be very blunt here, because that was heartbreaking for me. When you get a university like Nalanda, how can we not dedicate ourselves? You know, so 2010, 14, two courses started, and there's two or three small hotels were hired, 20 rooms. So when I went, there were hardly 30, 40 students, I think. And one of the question, Prafulaji, which was thrown at me till I left, how many students? Let me tell you, Nalanda lasted for 8 centuries. The peak of Nalanda, after 5 centuries, it had 10,000 students, 2,000. It boasts of. But initially, it also went through. No institution in the initial years cannot be. Why was this question not asked before 2017? Before Honorable Modi Saab came, before the BJP came? So why were these questions not posed? Why wasn't there any infrastructure? Why weren't there increased courses? Because I've always said, don't ask me how many students, ask me how many courses. Enhanced courses would mean number will go up. And then, as per the Act and Statute, it's a postgraduate research institution, basically. So in research, how many students, unless you have qualified, experienced faculty who can supervise research, PhD scholars are hired in the name of faculty. So what kind of research? There was no research. I framed the ordinances and I got a unique PhD program, both external and internal. I said those of them who want to pursue knowledge, because in earlier times, there were no borders for learning. It was a borderless learning. Students came in quest of knowledge, seekers of knowledge from everywhere. And there was no age bar. When Hyung Sang came, what was his age? When scholars came, nobody in India, we never looked at age. We looked at how do we become better, knowledgeable, enlightened individuals. Abdul Kalam ji, the former president, said, Nalanda must create enlightened citizens, quote unquote. And citizens, not just Indian, the world order citizens. So enlightenment would mean we need top order faculty. That's the biggest challenge for Nalanda. It will continue for another couple of years, I think. But now with all the infrastructure, people should come. These were some of the...
You have been, gracious and dignified enough. But I must make the viewers clear that, from 2010 onwards, or rather 2007 onwards, Amartya Sen and his gang actually ran from this institution from Lodi Road, and the financial difficulties and the pathetic situation that ma'am talked about. It was basically nothing but so there are two challenges emerge out of this. One is, of course, the infrastructure, not just infrastructure, but even connectivity. Reaching to Nalanda itself was I remember when I came there for one of the conferences, it was such a difficult time to reach out there. To the financial things, because setting the finances right, if there is nothing and you have to start from a scratch, it is fine. But when there is already so much of mess there, getting the things back on, as you are saying, 17 increments, 18 increments, 11 increments. So, getting back that on track itself, very difficult task. So how did you, and one another part, what was the process? Because this is completely new campus. Old Nalanda was, of course, uh, almost 1.5 million square meters kind of land. But this new campus, you have, the land acquisition. And I remember, you actually getting to the site and observing each and every level of, right from the foundation stone, getting there and making sure that, the quality is maintained. So, how did you go through this, and which were the factors that allowed you, put the things in place? Because in place like Rajgir and Nalanda, acquiring land, and I remember, landing at Gaya and from by road reaching there uh, with a delegation. That was a very tedious task. So how did you manage these two things?
Well, you're so right. Multiple challenges. One is, of course, travel, and cannot expect people to waste one full day to reach
Right,
Nalanda.
right.
Particularly people who are busy with their, who are pursuing a lot of things in life. Very difficult. But I asked, one of my question to the chief minister then was that, how do we ensure that we have good travel system? Can we not get an airport to Nalanda somewhere? And the then Chief Minister Nitish Kumar ji did tell me that he tried very hard, but something went wrong with the aviation ministry. They could not approve the land. So technical problems. I said, fine. Once we have that, I thought it's a must to start working. And the secret of getting ahead is to get started. That's what Mark Twain said. So I believe in that. So I said, I need to work on multiple modes. I need to create five things that I thought must put on my priority list. And no Dashera, no Deepavali, no Saturday, Sunday. We need to work 24/7. And I said, first thing is create policies, have an academic framework, evaluation mechanism, get all those things in place. Two, to build infrastructure. It's so very important. Where would you house the students? Where would you house the faculty? How would you run the system? You can't be in a government building like a primary school, and calling it international. One of the top person, I will not name, one of the former justices of India had said, Madam, it's not your level, don't go. Nalanda is on a small building. Somebody had said, it's not, what will you do there, madam? There's nothing there. I said, when there is nothing, we can rebuild. We can do a lot of things. So the third thing I thought was to create labs in infrastructure. Then I thought that why not do a net zero? Because that was already there, in the vision. So I had a sustainable, ancient Nalanda was known for its sustainability. So fourth mission was that. The fifth was to get all rules and regulations in place, not policies, not just educational, but also governance in force. And the governing board was supportive in this. One man stood out. I don't know if it is, I'm an academician, not a diplomat, so I'm going to be very forthright here, was N.K. Singh Saab, who was part of the earlier Group 15 Finance Commission chair. He was extremely supportive and positive. So that gave me a lot of hope that I can move forward. The governing board was there was one gentleman from China and one from Australia, Peter Burgess, who was the university president, a former. He was wondering, he said, how do you think you will work there, ma'am? There's nothing there from what I understand. Another governing board member said, locational disadvantage will be your biggest challenge. I said, yes. But let's not say that Bihar is a disadvantage. Because the whole idea is to rebuild. Because this was known as Gyan Dharti, Gyan Bhumi.
Right, right.
So ancient Nalanda was housed there. So I found Bihari people extremely receptive, to knowledge and other things. So I said, let's pick up these five things and move forward. So I made different committees, got different external bodies, because tomorrow nobody should say that, we are getting our own people. So we had very objective, there was no audit system. Money was a big problem. Corruption, and as you rightly pointed out, it was being run from Lodi Road on a huge rent. The first thing I did was to dismantle that. I said, no, we cannot waste money here. We need to put it where it is necessary. And then I looked at internal issues. There were a lot of internal problems there. So dealing with it was a huge challenge, but I did not give up, I guess. It's my state of mind, It comes from the way our own culture and value system that has been part of my growing up years. So a world-class university, I thought, emerges from effective confluence. There should be a confluence of robust and flexible academic framework. Without that, you cannot move. Concentration of talent, extremely talented people. The third thing, I thought sufficient funds, resources, and resources were there. We cannot. Government had given us resources. How do we put it to use? So that's where I thought first thing is to build infrastructure. Where do we cannot run from hotels. The students are living in hotels, and biggest challenge was I was constantly worried about their security. The girls, and they all were taken in because there were no malls, no theater, no source of entertainment for them. So they would get into the agricultural, because it's green and virgin lands. Everybody was attracted. They would want to go here and there. Where is the safety? So we needed to build security systems that were. After I went there, touch wood, there was not a single bad incident where students are concerned. Zero agitation. Just before I entered, there was one agitation where the interim VC had to resign. All kinds of issues were happening there. And so it was difficult. It was hugely challenging. But I always was positive that we could make inroads, create new pathways. And we did that.
So, ma'am, now you overcome the challenges. Now, tell us about the features of this new campus, because it was a challenge. It was a different challenge, besides all the challenges that were existential. One was, it was old concept of Nalanda which had to be revived. And there is a modern system and modern technological advancements that have taken place, and you have to blend the both. So, thematically, structurally, what was the process that you followed? Who were the people, designers, and the people that were involved? And what are the features? If people are visiting Nalanda, what they must observe there? As a person who has seen that from the foundation stone to almost completion, what would you suggest?
I would suggest they take another look at the courses, because we built in innovative courses. There were two schools but no departments. There's just two courses being run. So we brought in the world literatures. We brought in sustainable management and development, where public policy is also part of it. Sustainability is part of it. Ethical modes of learning and behaving, because in today's world, violence ridden, we needed to build peace. So I created a lot of new courses, critical thinking as a discipline, and I brought in cafeteria model. I said all courses must have critical thinking, because we need to teach our students coming from all over. And most of the students coming from East Asian countries were not good at English. So you had to have a lab there. So labs, I wanted them to see how our courses are innovative in multiple ways, and not just imitative of other universities. So that's point number one. Point number two, I wanted them to look at how the Nalanda way is man, in the lap of nature, in coordination with nature and in collaboration with nature and sustainability. So man and nature come together with complete ease. So the campus had to be completely sustainable. That's where we created a net zero campus, where waste management, water management, what new water systems, energy. Whichever ministry I went to, it's not that we had dearth of funds from Ministry of External Affairs, but I thought that the best way to go about is to be collaborative because 17 countries are involved. Our ministries must also know about Nalanda. Dharmendra Pradhanji was in the Ministry of Petroleum and Gas, and I went to him and I said, there's a gas pipeline going from Silao to Gaya. I said, it should go detour and go through Nalanda because I'm creating a net zero campus. And he gave me a positive signal then and there. And today you find there's a gas pipeline going from Silao to Nalanda to Gaya, which means that this university and the government has helped more than 200 villages there. So outreach also. Third is experiential learning. How students get into the society and they learn. Experiential learning is very, very important. So when we are talking about sustainable management, we're talking about ecology and environment. The course is so innovative. Aquifer, we did water storage, water recharge. We looked at all the new emerging areas of the evolving. So I brought in a net zero committee where the US members were there, policy makers from different ministries were there, IAS officers were there, our own ministry people were there. It was a very a positive thing because everybody would contribute and they were so enthusiastic. Something as innovative as a net zero Nalanda campus is coming up. So there were huge contributions from every sector. Then I went to energy minister and under Pradhan Mantri Urja Yojana, R.K. Singh, who hails from Bihar, when I went to him and I said, not that we couldn't do it from the funding, but I said I must involve them. They should also know. So I said I'm looking for an energy farm, solar farm, which would cater to 6.5 megawatt of energy. And we will have surplus of energy after 3-4 years, now that I have built it, and we can give energy to the nearby villages. So just imagine the university is contributing. So that's one of the hallmark of Nalanda.
You are making the locals as a stakeholder in the university development process.
Aquifer, water recharge. We did that in 5 villages that I adopted. We did that also. So involvement of Bihar was there. I brought them on the platform in very innovative ways. And they all value that. And over a period of time, if we have good governance system, you get a strong, good vice chancellor with a vision. I think it can be taken forward. Who's coming?
And what about the architectural and design part of it? How difficult was it?
Yeah, it was completely based on the ancient Nalanda model of sustainability. See, the ancient Nalanda was completely sustainable. There were thick cavity walls there,
right.
Which would take care of the heat in summer and cold in winter. We did that, and then it had its own talabs, the lake.
Water bodies,
It did 40 hectares of water bodies, which is 13 lakes, 100 acres it translates into water bodies, and it takes care of, and we recycled water. The DVAT, we brought in all new technologies, and I did some research on net zero, and I found that even US, entire world, this would be the largest net zero campus because we have net zero buildings.
Right.
One or two, even
Right.
in US, in
But
advanced,
not the entire campus.
not this is 455 acres, 200 structures that I created. You find that everything is net zero, sustainable. Creating sustainable structures and is very easy. Now, how do they take it forward will be a bigger challenge.
And maintain it.
Maintenance and
Sustain it rather.
sustainability. So how do you sustain it? For that, you need vision, you need resources. That's why I said for world class institutions, you need an amalgamation of concentrated talent, abundance of resources, and you need academic framework that keeps evolving and is not static. Nalanda way was also that it was never static. That's why it lasted for over 8 centuries. We cannot be static in our knowledge systems. We have to keep on rebuilding it. So that was another. The third important thing I did was to connect the world, is to bring in centers. So Center for Bay of Bengal Research Center. We look at Global South. We take the countries that are connected with Bay of Bengal and work on that. Then Common Archival Resource Center. I was asking for funding for this because I created, I will share with you the documents that I created for these. I took experts from all over, and it's very unique because this talks about, this is part of Mekong Ganga cooperation.
Right. Mekong Ganga project.
Cooperation initiative. It was there on paper. So I said, no, we need to, everything was on paper. Some things were on paper only. So we had to get it activated. So create knowledge network. That was then net banking, knowledge net banking. So I took in systems and we connected with all the libraries, resources, because knowledge, is something that we lost the knowledge in Nalanda library, thanks to so-called Bhaktiar Khilji. And we do have a village and a station that gave me a lot of sleepless nights, but that was a political decision. I didn't want to get into that domain, although I did point it out. I said we focus on academic progress, and given the 5-year tenure, as much work as I could get it done, then you have the foundations, one can take it forward. The third thing I did was Center for Conflict Resolution and Peace Studies, peace building. This is again a very unique program, unlike conflict studies, peace studies they have in some universities. I said, no, this has to be Nalanda way again. So that we did. Then I started another thing because people kept talking about number of students. So I said, the campus cannot be undergraduate, but we started an undergraduate center in Neemrana. Again on sustainable. That's something that I approved by governing board. We started in 2022, which again can be extremely promising in different. The fourth important thing, next important thing was to get scholarships. I got scholarships from ASEAN fellowships, from 3 or 4, we built to 50. BIMSTEC fellowships, again, I had to work very hard to convince our friends to lend funds. Then NU Bhutan fellowships were again 6. Again, we got it enhanced to 50. Then scholarships for monks and, nuns who would like to pursue as approved by governing board. So a lot of ICCR scholarships were not there. I be at that time vice president. And then we had students coming to Nalanda on ICCR fellowship. So a lot of good work, Prafulaji. How much of it is taken forward will depend on, how it is being run and whether we innovate constantly. We look at it with a new vision, new lens, as our Honorable Prime Minister pointed out that day, because it's a culture. Nalanda is not just a name.
That's precisely my, let us conclude this conversation, because I know we can keep on talking about different dimensions of Nalanda, but Nalanda was not just a structure. Nalanda was a thought. Nalanda was a spirit. Nalanda was a culture. One of the conversations I remember, you mentioned about Dr. Kalam. He said, I would consider India to be developed when uh, not just on the basis of economy, but when the foreign students again start coming to India for getting knowledge. Again we have Nalandas and Takshashilas as centers of knowledge seeking, not just knowledge giving. Or so, how do you see? Now the structure is ready. You have put in a lot of ideas behind it. Even you have introduced certain courses. Now, what would be your vision to take that spirit forward, the Nalanda spirit forward?
Well, that's where I said that Nalanda is not just an idea. It's built into our ethos, into a system. So therefore, and we need to transmit it to the world. How do we take it? For that is where the knowledge system, ancient knowledge systems, need to be again brought into our own education system. So that's one. Two is when I went, there were two foreign students. Today, I when I left, I'm talking about 2023 batch that time, last year, 38 countries, students from 38 countries for masters and PhD program enrollment. Not many people would say only 400, 500. I said this is a postgraduate research intensive university. Even if you have 10 postgraduate courses, 30 students, not more than 300. Research, for that you need to get concentration of talent, research pool, faculty who can guide properly. So we need to take. So another innovative thing I did was, for PhD research, we should create a database of faculty from across the world who can supervise. Take the best talents and create a database, have one internal faculty, but have an external. You will see my ordinances are unique that I built there, extremely innovative. So then you can, that will evolve. And that has attracted foreign students from different countries. We cannot have, I'm not criticizing UGC because I've been part of that education system. But if we look at our central universities, not many foreign students. And one of the lacunae, or should I say limitation, was that. How do you fund? Because most of the students are looking for fellowship. They need travel fund. Not everybody is rich and they can fund the entire. So you need some support system. Only then you can sustain it. Whereas students in Nalanda have come from US, Canada, New Zealand, there were one or two, Australia, England. So there will be sprinkling of, and all approaching for Buddhist studies, Hindu studies, sustainable management, new courses, critical thinking, design thinking has been a huge draw there. Nalanda way has been, Nalanda tradition, there is a course that I built because people need to know that Nalanda tradition. So 38 countries, today I'm told there are students from 30 countries. If the faculty are good, believe me, the students will be attracted to Nalanda. You look at the infrastructure that I've built. There are multiple labs there. There's an ecology and environment lab. There's a computer lab. There's a language labs. There are GIS, RAS labs. There are all kinds of labs. Facilities are there. We need experts. That will be a challenge. But I think on that note, I don't know if we have created the base for one of the top universities which will emerge in another couple of years. It's already there. Inauguration was the hallmark for people world to know that we are there. Nalanda stands on ground today, beautifully and firmly, with all the promising features. How do we take it forward? Our vision will play a big role. funding will play a big role, and resources.
Thanks a lot, man. I'm really, really grateful because for after catering to the students, or rather knowledge seekers from all over the world, especially Central Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, it was brutally plundered, burned, and that university had seen sudden downfall, which was in a way a real intellectual and psychological colonization of Bharat also. Now, revival of Nalanda has provided us a new platform, and I'm really glad that the new ideas of whether the global South or BIMSTEC or Mekong Ganga cooperation, all these aspects are brought in, which are the new strategic terminologies. Perhaps Yuan Sung may not have thought about them then, because for them India was always a land of knowledge. India was always a land of Buddha, and I hope yes, yes,
One small note. I'm so
yes,
glad you
yeah,
point. Plundering of knowledge. This has happened 8 centuries back, but even today, I must say, it's still happening to our knowledge systems. We don't acknowledge our own knowledge systems, our own rich pool of knowledge,
right.
resources, knowledge resources. When I talk about resources, it's knowledge resources. I think we need to focus on retrieving our knowledge. That is the Nalanda tradition. It's still being done by activists or groups who are unhappy at inauguration of Nalanda. You will find a lot of them are saying, oh, it's buildings, what is there? I said, people are so pessimistic, can't even look forward and imagine a new emerging Bharat, which believes in itself, the self-esteem. We are creating new generation that will take pride in being Bharatiya or Indian. So plundering of knowledge still happening. We need to defeat that.
Yeah, I always say this. This unless we decolonize ourselves, we cannot renationalize ourselves. So we need to look at that with sense of pride, responsibility. Why did it happen, and how can we correct it? And perhaps Nalanda is the best place to start that, because Nalanda represents that knowledge tradition that Bharat stood for, and Bharat was a point of attraction for all entire world. But ma'am, we are really grateful on behalf of the entire organizer team, viewers of organizer, and perhaps the millions and millions of Indians, who really look forward to revival of and innovation of Nalanda, re-establishment of Nalanda tradition, and you played a pivotal role in it. We are really thankful and grateful to you that you did that, and of course, thanks for sparing time to speak to organizer and our viewers. I'd be really I'm looking forward for the reactions that are going to get from, and I'm sure that there will be many more questions addressed to you after listening to this particular conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Huge opportunity. So I'm thankful to the government and to you for allowing me to state what I have done, because we generally forget who has done the work and we move on. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaste, and look forward to meet you soon. Thank you.